Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and we've talked a lot about either the locations of the type of property that's going to be coming in the December 2017 update or where they're going to be located, but we haven't talked about what they should be like in specific relationship to nightclubs. So that's what I'm actually hoping for is the type of property in this update. Remember, the rumored theme is something like hipster or retro, and I feel like nightclubs would be a great addition to the game. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at how I think they should function, some features, details about them that I think are pretty epic, and a whole lot more. Now, once again, nightclubs have not been confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but they are like one of the last few remaining businesses, at least naturally occurring in the game, that Rockstar could tackle. And they based an entire DLC in Grand Theft Auto 4 off of it. The Bout of Gay Tony was all about Luis Lopez and Tony Prince and their nightclub management business and adventures, and that was one of the best expansions of not only Grand Theft Auto, but any video game ever. So today we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of different types of nightclub scenes and environments, and all of them are different in their own way, shape, and form, and it should give you a pretty good idea of ultimately how these scenes should turn out. So the first two mods are by a user, War Reporter. I will leave a link to all the mods in the description, so if you want to add them to your game, you can. So this first one is called 8358 Nightclub Scene. And this one is really cool. So this is essentially a grand nightclub scene at the Pegasus Concierge Hotel Pool, which is really cool. So essentially, they've turned the area into a massive nightclub, which is awesome. Now, this is a pretty detailed scene with around 200 people. There's lots of chairs and tables for drinking and eating. There's a DJ booth with unlimited beer and wine, a bar table and BBQ table, a VIP zone and box suites, and it's suitable for nighttime and sunset, which is the time of day that I have it at right now. Now, at the very end, I'll show you guys the before and after shots of this, just to show you the transformation that this area underwent. And this is pretty awesome. Now, I understand that this is outside, and that might not be your typical nightclub scene, but there's a lot of things here that I think obviously work really well. Number one is the massive dance floor that they've turned into an emptied pool, which I certainly think is pretty cool. The fact that there's a DJ booth dancing and stuff like that. That's one of the best parts about the Ballad of Gay Tony is you would walk in and there would be people doing normal things. It was almost like a scripted sort of scene. And this is something that Rockstar has actually done okay in some other aspects of the game. So for example, in the recent updates they've added, whether it's gun running or import-export, on a lot of the sourcing missions you go on, it'll be like a scene that is not necessarily scripted, but it almost feels like it's naturally occurring. So for example, with the import-export stuff, sometimes you'll have to steal a car right from a car show, or you'll have to intercept a car that's in the middle of a police chase. That's kind of cool. Same with gun running. One of the items that you have to source might be a tank that Merryweather or the Fort Zancudo army staff are using. That's kind of cool. It makes it feel more realistic. And that's what I liked about the Ballad of Gay Tony. And if Rockstar were to do nightclubs in Grand Theft Auto Online, that's how I'd hope they'd feel as well. Not only would they be a dynamic part of our business, but I also hope they'd be like a living, breathing area that you would see people walking in, that if you walked in order to do some club management activities, that you would see people dancing or you would see your employees doing stuff. That would be pretty cool. Now, getting back to this scene, I love the aurora of this place with the red and blue lights. I love all the areas. There's even valet parking out front, which is something I talked about in my video the other day, which I think would be pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So this is the first scene right here. It is incredibly cool. Let's show you guys that before and after right now. You can see just the difference. I mean, it's literally like an empty pool that they turned into this massive nightclub, which is really awesome. So that is the first one right there. The second mod, as I mentioned, is also by War Reporter, and I'll leave a link to that in the description too. This one is called the Summer Cat Walk Show with Club. So it's very, very similar. It's basically a catwalk show at the Richmond Hotel pools. Now, some details about this scene. There's over 100 people there. There's a long stage for either a car show or a catwalk show, which is kind of cool. There's a massive spotlight. There's a lot of chairs and tables for drinking and eating. There's, once again, a VIP zone and box suites and stuff like that. So this one is pretty awesome as well. So unlike the last one, which was actually at a drained pool, This one takes place at an actual pool, which is kind of cool. And as the user mentioned, there's like a catwalk in the middle, which is incredibly awesome. There's hundreds of people in the pool and around the area as well, with cars surrounding it, which is kind of cool. And I know a lot of people might look at this scene and say, well, this makes no sense at all. How could a nightclub be outside? Well, a couple things here. Number one, this is of course a mod, so it is kind of limited in what they could show you. But also, number two, this also could show the variety of how things could work. Maybe you buy a nightclub and it has the option for roof pool access, and you have something like this on the roof of your nightclub, which would be really cool. So I'm certainly not ruling anything out here, as I think this looks awesome. And as we'll look at a little bit later, there are some indoor clubs that we will take a look at a little bit later on. But this scene is incredibly cool. There's video cameras everywhere. There's paparazzo everywhere taking photos and stuff like that. I actually tried to get a car out on the runway, but I wasn't really having a whole lot of success, figuring out how I could get it without driving through the people in the pool or getting the car wet or anything like that. So I'm not really too sure how I was supposed to go about doing this, but needless to say, this scene is pretty awesome as well. So let's show you guys the before and after here, and this one is pretty crazy too. I mean, this scene was literally built out of nothing, and that's another thing that Rockstar could do, because these are all at areas that just have, can be built. There's no excuse for Rockstar not to be able to incorporate the existing buildings and whatnot in the game to be able to create these awesome nightclubs. So those are the two scenes from War Reporter right there that are pretty awesome. The next scene we're going to be looking at is certainly a little bit interesting, and it's actually a nightclub in the Fort Zancudo swamp. So this one is called Trevor Strip Club and Biker Gang Clubhouse by Gizmo. I'll also leave a link to this one in the description too. And this one's a little bit more rough and rugged. So this is the description of a place like this. It's good to visit this place and find the red zone. Hide into the Tungva Hills swamps, beautiful girls, beers, and some more. Check the case inside the boat to discover what Trevor negotiates. So this is certainly one of the more interesting clubs in the game. As you can see here, it's literally outdoors. It's outside in kind of this, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like boat storage facility dock, but it's pretty cool. They've almost made it like an outdoor biker gang club, which is certainly kind of cool. And that's one thing I'd like to see, is a different variety of nightclubs. Obviously, the kind of the first two we looked at, and the Bahama Mamas interior that we looked at in a couple other videos, that's sort of like a posh nightclub. And I know that certainly wouldn't be for every type of GTA Online player, so I'd definitely love to see some biker variety here, which could tie in perfectly with the fact that Rockstar's already done a bikers update into the game. And this one is really cool. It does have all the aesthetics of sort of a biker's vibe. It has pool. It has kind of a interesting sort of strip club on the inside. As the description mentioned, there's a tugboat with Trevor negotiating some sort of drug deal on the inside too, which is certainly very interesting. So I definitely think this one would still be pretty cool. It's a really rich environment. There's a ton of details here, and I just think this is absolutely awesome. I think it would be epic if there were some nightclubs either up in Sandy Shores or Grapeseed or Palito Bay, and if they resembled anything like this, this would be incredibly cool. I know everyone has images of like the Bahama Mama seared into their head, but even nightclubs like this could have an incredibly cool and interesting vibe to them. So that's the third one we're going to be looking at today: Gizmo's Trevor's Strip Club and Biker Gang Clubhouse. Let's move on to the fourth one, which is also a club that's run by the Lost MC. But this one is kind of one that's in the middle. It's not like out in the middle of nowhere. It's not super posh. It's actually a club that's close to Vespucci Beach that's owned by the Lost MC. And it's really cool because it has a full detailed interior, which is probably a little bit more of the inside of club that you're used to. It has a full dance floor and bar and stage and stuff like that, which is incredibly cool. But you can also go back on the inside, which is pretty unique as well. There's like a storage area for not only drinks, but there's also some secret rooms and some upstairs areas that you might find pretty interesting as well. So inside each one of these rooms up top, there's a pretty interesting scenario, and it's really cool the level of detail that's ultimately gone in here. Now, this actually brought up a good point. Could this be maybe the business side that you run inside of your nightclub? Maybe your nightclub is just a front to get people in the door, and maybe upstairs you do some sort of illicit business that could be pretty cool as well. Now, this definitely fits into the biker theme, as we've already been selling weed, we've been selling counterfeit cash. So I don't think Rockstar would be opposed to maybe adding another element to the biker business, and maybe that's something they could build off of it. Instead of reintroducing another system, maybe they latch on nightclubs, especially if it's more connected to bikers, with the biker stuff, just like how they kind of latched on the import-export stuff to the CEO stuff. And in my opinion, I think it turned out really well. Now, this club also has a ton of rooftop access as well, which ultimately turns out to be pretty cool. There's so much detail going on in these clubs that it's almost kind of hard for me to sit here and talk about. You almost have to experience it for yourself. So once again, I will leave links to all of the clubs in the description, so if you want to check them out for yourself, you can. This one is the Lost MC Club by Crazy Bam. And then we kind of have one last one, which isn't necessarily a dynamic event like this, but it is like an indoor kind of club facility. And there's not really a whole lot to talk about this one, but it still kind of gives me that vibe that I'm going for, that nightclub feel. So that's why I wanted to kind of include it in this video as well. But anyways, that's all the information that I'm going to be talking about for you guys in this video today. In my opinion, this is how nightclubs should look if they're ever added into Grand Theft Auto Online. Some of the cool details, the features and locations that I think would be perfect in game. Would you want nightclubs to be the same way, or would you want them to be a little bit different? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments section down below. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more down there. If you guys did go and enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.